I'm going to rate this as one Publix BOGO, which is buy one, get one free. I think it's a great product. I'm a big fan of it. Not always the best deal compared to like a Walmart, but I do think it's a phenomenal deal, and it'd get me 10 out of 10 times. That's my rating. One Publix BOGO.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the first ever episode. It's your man Alex here, and I'm here with
That's great.
my co-host, Mr. Rick Kallmeyer.
There we go.
Welcome.
That's great. It's great to be here, man. It's good.
So we're going to talk about product show, man.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's great.
The first ever of its kind. I've never once been in or seen anybody doing a show about a product specifically, but that's what this show is all about, breaking down all the different life insurance and annuity products offered on the market. True, honest, unbiased opinion, not bringing any sort of, this is not funded by any sort of carrier out there. This is not backed by a marketing group or anything like that. This is just true unbiased love and appreciation for good products and true unbiased maybe suggestion or just doubt in products that might be lacking.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at an approach from everything from illustrations to the breakdowns of the product individually. And we've been doing this for a long time in the wholesale space.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of good products and a lot of bad products and good or products tested over time. Mm-hmm. But that's what this is all about. Just kind of showing, the ins and outs of any product, right?
Yeah, I think it's a lot on the advisor side when you're going to your marketing group or whatever it might be, RA, broker dealer, anybody where you're talking financial products. There's this like relationship where you kind of have to trust them, or you're spending a lot of your time on multiple different tools on the websites and different places to compare and contrast, and a lot of advisors don't have that time to kind of fact check products.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of both wanted to sit here and talk what's good, the bad, the ugly, pieces you might be missing on a product that maybe your marketer doesn't know, or maybe just isn't directly telling you, just to give, like you said, a really unbiased opinion of what's out there.
Yeah, man. It's like everything has some tinge to it, some ask to it out there. It's either offered by a carrier, and so obviously there's some bias there, or it's offered by a wholesale group with interest in that. This is not a recruitment method. This isn't like we're not asking any of our viewers to buy in or come join our respective groups or whatever. This is just simply information for everybody to understand and kind of object or interact with if they have questions about a product, to ask questions. And we'll make sure that we have information. If you want to at any point during the show comment or send us an email about a question about the product, a comment, you generally disagree with what we're talking about, which might happen, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Each week we'll cover a product. We will comment on any questions of the past at the end of the show. But generally we're going to go over, just kind of intro what product we're talking about that week, which will be selected the week prior or before the show. We'll select a product that's out there, whether it's hot, maybe even an index, whatever it might be that we want to talk about, product related. And then also go through the highlights of that product, talk through the positioning of the product and what we think would be the sales process to position that product effectively, or how you might sell the product to a prospect, and then give it a rating.
Yeah. That's a big point too as well. Like a lot of times when you call into a carrier, you'll get kind of like that highlight sheet or the rate sheet, or basically they're just going to reiterate information you could just pull from the website. So to be able to say, PC. Hey, look, this is how the product should work. This is a good spot and a good way you can use it and use and abuse the product to suit your client's needs. Yeah. And this is the type of client that, would benefit from having something like this.
I think you and I offer a general disagreement sometimes on what we think a product would be paid. Like two very different thought processes in how we might approach a situation. So you might get two sides of the coin. I think that'll be exciting. So anyway, nothing better than just to execute to see how it goes. So we have a product that we picked for this show, this episode, and we've selected the F&G, the Fidelity and Guarantee Power Accumulator 10.
Yep.
This is Will. Would you bring that up? And for any of you guys that don't know, we got a mastermind behind the scenes, Mr. Will Umatong.
The myth, the man, the legend.
The myth, the man, the legend.
The man of the hour, the tower power.
We're gonna get him a mic.
Yeah.
So he can defend himself when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Will, yeah, okay, you brought it up on the screen. Cool. Perfect. So we're gonna talk through the F&G Power Accumulator.
Yep. PC stuff, cover the basics of it.
And then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. All
right. So the F&G Power Accumulator, obviously the name states that it's an accumulation product.
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Yeah. Strong one.
Yeah. You've run a lot of these?
Yeah, I've run a lot of these.
And the illustrations are pretty powerful, right?
Illustrations are great. We'll get into, I think, a lot of that, why I like to use it, and I think where its strong points are later. But I have done a lot with this product. I've done a decent bit with F&G because it works very well in the niche that I work in behind the scenes.
Gotcha.
Illustration software is real simple, really easy to use.
All right. So besides the F&G, obviously an up and coming carrier. Mm-hmm. They've been A-rated recently, last year or two or something like that. Age eligibility 0 to 85, pretty typical. Qualified 18 to 85 for qualified assets. Minimum payment 10,000. That's pretty cookie cutter.
It's nice, a little bit lower than some of the other ones comparatively. 10,000 is right in the kind of like average spot.
Yeah, every once in a while you see like a 5,000, 10,000's like pretty cookie cutter. 1 million requires some exception to be made.
Yep.
Interest options. Okay, so here's where, and we'll talk more about these different options here, but they got a bunch of different index options for you, from 1 year to 2 year options, some with charges, some without charges.
Yeah.
Death benefit scenario.
So one quick point on the actual allocations without getting into the allocations. The original spearhead to this product from F&G was that they use ETFs rather than index on it.
Right.
So typically you're dealing with like an S&P index, whereas this is using like the S&P iShare Core S&P ETF.
It's following iShares, because they made the partnership with BlackRock.
Yeah. So it's off of an ETF rather than like the whole index itself. So instead of just having the whole S&P that it's running comparatively to, you have the iShares, which is like a limited amount of the S&P 500 plus some additional companies kind of tossed in there. So that was the original like, this is why the product's different, is because we're building it based off of ETFs rather than index funds, which is kind of new to the market.
Very, very sharp. Okay. But even the balance 10, balance asset 10 and 5, those are also based off of, we were just talking about that before we came on.
Those are still BlackRock funds.
Still BlackRock.
But they're an index rather than an ETF.
Gotcha.
So
interesting stuff, man. All right, so they do a partnership. They've got some pretty interesting stuff from the iShares partnership, or the iShare offerings in the ETF world.
Yep.
They got a gold trust. That's cool. I was just reading an article just the other day about the resurgence of gold and why everybody kind of feels like gold's about to have its day in the sunshine. That's pretty interesting. I'll have to send that to you.
Yeah, please do.
But so the ETF, and you've got the index funds.
Yeah, and we'll dive into all that later. I just want to touch on that point.
Death benefit, paid as a lump sum, greatest of account value or minimum guaranteed surrender value. Pretty standard.
Super typical.
Spousal continuation may be invoked. Okay, whatever. Very similar stuff. Free partial withdrawals. Each contract year after the first year, you may withdraw 10%. Up to 10% with no surrender charge or market value adjustment. Withdrawals may be taken as systematic withdrawals on monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual basis, or up to 4 non-systematic withdrawals per year.
And that's pretty on the par for F&G. F&G mostly does 0% first year, 10% second year. I think the Flex Accumulator, which is a different product than this, has the first year 10% free withdrawals, but that's really it. They do, like I said, first none, second year 10. But basic stuff. A lot of people do that.
Can't do the first year.
No.
Okay. So, all right. So pretty cookie cutter. It's an accumulation product. It's not going to be like the flashy stuff or the indexes, right? Like that's what it's come down to. I feel like in the industry. What's interesting is like you're seeing this a lot more nowadays. You can buy up your rates with 125 basis point fee. You can buy up your rate in what looks like, boom,
there's a few of them
balance
mixed in.
5. Looks like the balance 5. Yeah. In this index right here, you can buy up your fee.
And I do like that it offered that on a specific index. Sometimes They either make it like a product or not, right? You have like the base product, and then you can pay for like the whole. I guess, and it doesn't really matter, just the way they positioned it. I think they made it a lot simpler than like
break it down.
It having a rider, right? Like, let's say, I don't want to keep comparing products to it. A lot of times you'll have like the base product itself, and then they'll say you can pay for a 1.25 additional rider, like a growth rider that's on the whole product, that now you get access to all of the better rates, where they made theirs simpler and just saying you have this one index or two indexes that if you choose this option, there's a 1.25 fee on those funds. Right. So you could put your money into a non-feed account like the S&P, whatever, and let it run, and that S&P money isn't going to be charged the 1.25 fee versus the money you put into the indexes.
I like that.
I like that better than it being the whole product has a 1.25 fee.
You're paying this fee, right?
For the growth option.
Versus, but then you're not like, obviously you can, in the other products though, you can reallocate the next year and get away from that fee, no?
Some products, it's either or. You have like a normal product.
And you're stuck with it,
and then
for
you're
the whole
stuck with the
period.
1.25. So you might as well, if you choose that rider fee, it's like an income rider, right? Like kind of the option of it. Like some products, you can choose the base product that doesn't have an income rider, and then you can choose an income rider product. Once you've made that selection to it, you have that income rider on for life, whether you use it or not. So it'd be like almost like if you could use an income rider, like just pay for the income rider when you want to start using it.
Right.
That made sense.
Right.
That's kind of how it is. Is like you don't have that 1.25 fee on all of the index options. It's just on the ones you want to pay for.
That's super.
Allianz kind of has it, but it's like they're much farther out. Like you only have like the Russell, the S&P, and I think a NASDAQ option that are no feed.
Look at this. We'll bring this up.
And they have good rates. It's a good accumulation product with a lot of different indexes on it.
S&P 500, 1 year monthly point-to-point cap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we want to look in the power accumulator. Hold on. 10. Let's go down here. There we go. Power accumulator 10. That's going to be all of these right here. See that?
Yep. Slide her over.
All right. So the iShares, boom, boom, boom. Trying to see. Oh, here's your fee right here. So it's the balance 5.
Yep.
So if you want this, okay, but look at what it does, dude.
Yeah.
You've got 90% on a 1 year. It's going to jump you to 145%. Yeah. That's powerful, man. Mm-hmm. Powerful. And you can buy it up on the 7 year too.
Yep.
We're not even talking about this. So they offer a same product with a 7 year too.
Mm-hmm.
140% on a 7 year product, a 1 year. See, that's the thing is like, okay, everybody's offering these incredible par rates, 125, no fee, 120 on a 2 year product. It's a 2 year product.
Mm-hmm.
They're so risky.
Yeah.
A lot of people doing that for illustration purposes.
Of course.
And you're like, okay, I get it. And some of this is positioning.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've always been, and you know this, I've always been the kind of guy that when you're sitting down with a client, talking them into, if you set things up the right way, then you're not going to be in a position down the road where you're trying to get them 30, 40% interest, 20% interest guaranteed every single year, or trying to allude to like, oh yeah, this is going to really perform well, almost to that of the market.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm going for. If we get that, that's fine. And I don't think a lot of producers are doing that per se, but they love to show an illustration that shows 20%.
Yeah.
It's like, and they'll throw it all in this 2 year, but like, that's like, it has just as much as success, or it has just as much of a chance of doing 20. I mean, I don't know this for fact, but I mean, I feel like I would be setting myself potentially up for a really hard conversation with a client 2 years down the road where the market did really well the year before. We got no interest credited to the account. And then the next year the market goes down or does subpar and we get the subpar amount.
Yeah.
120% of 2% growth versus maybe the year prior to 12. You're like, they're like, well, the market's gone up 14% over the last 2 years. Like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, in our account it didn't.
Yeah.
And that's where it creates this like really hard conversation. So after a while, you're like, I'm not doing these 2 years ever. At best, I'll do it like a blend.
I usually do it a blend. And I think you brought up a good point that I think a lot of advisors don't a lot of times look at, because the concept in our head of like zero is your hero is so ingrained into us from the annuity space, from like everybody all the time, always, that like whenever you're looking at an illustration, it's like you only think of the zeros, right? So you're thinking like that first year, if you get a zero, and the second year, if it comes back up, you're fine. But like you said, if it only goes up 2%, 140% of 2% is still a really bad return.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it's not that it got a zero. Maybe you only went up 2% the first year and only 2% the second
what
year.
I'm saying is that like it went up 14%
And then back down.
then it had such a downfall that it averaged at 2% because it's a point to point, right?
Yep.
So it's like I'm here and then I'm 2 points up the next year. Well, that means it dropped from that 14% gain down, lost 12% essentially from the last year.
Now you got to look at the 12% that your client lost out on that could have gotten. So I definitely agree. I look at a lot of these as a blend option, for a percentage of the money, anything with larger risk, larger reward to a concept, but there's a lot more risk. And especially when you're in like an environment like we are, I'm not going to pretend to know what the future outcome of this country is. But we're at a very high. And could we continue going up? Yes. Is there a possibility we could go down? Absolutely, of course. 2 years is a pretty wild time frame with where we're at right now, I think economically. Just getting out of the pandemic on a 12-year bull run. We took a little dip, but came back up. We've got lots of money being spent into the government. It's wishy-washy for me personally, like locking $100,000 of my money up into a 2-year strategy is something I'd probably not be happy about. So, but again, to use like 20% of it, 30% of it on a blended strategy, put it in 2 years, let it grow, let the rest of it be in a 1-year strategy. I'm fine with that. That's me.
It's it's an attractive product. I mean, it definitely illustrates really well. You're looking at a product that, let me just pull up. I know I ran some F&G work, analysis here. Hold on, let me find one here.
So besides talking like general annuity stuff, where I think this product's really cool at is the fact that it is using those BlackRock funds as the basis of it. Those funds are very similar, if not the same funds that are in most people's 401ks and their IRAs, right? They're very similar to the Vanguard funds that iShare is in pretty much every 401k there is out there. The real estate trust, the gold, those are very similar 401k indices you can put your money into. So it's nice to be able to not necessarily compare apples to apples, but to say like, hey, you guys have this, it's done very well for you for years. We can look at a product that's based on those same things with some downside guarantees. Of course, you're going to be capped. You're not going to get the highest participation as you wouldn't have in your 401k. But we do have the same strategy, same structure to it. We're just not going to lose money. I think that's a very, enticing part to it.
Sure. Yeah. It definitely is. I'm looking at, okay. So look at this. Look at this index. Pull this up. So here's an illustration. We're talking 100,000, and the CIBC balance asset 5 index 1 year annual point to point with par rate.
Yep,
145%. Hold on now. Rates may have changed since I ran this. Actually, let me see here. No, it's right. Yeah, okay. All right, so 165. Look, it says the 1 year's. Oh no, it is. Here it is. Here it is. Yep, that's a 10-year product. I'm sorry, I was getting a little confused there, folks. Sorry about that. 145%. Okay, so we run that. Boom, boom. In this illustration, look at what it does. Get to the hypothetical here. Here we go. Based on current rates, hypothetical. It turns $100,000 into $217,159 after the 10-year.
Not shabby.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's a serious return.
Yeah.
Based on the current rates, they're using a back testing formula, of course. But that's a great illustration. And this is a 1 year. This is a 1 year allocation strategy.
Yep. So 2 years can perform even higher on illustration.
Yeah, the 2 years going to illustrate well, but like if I'm an advisor that prefers a 1 year index, this is how we're going to roll. I get a chance to show the client, hey, look, this is a product that if you're looking for safe accumulation, a bond alternative, what a home run. And then they've got the iShare, like you've got the conversation of like, hey, look, especially like, We actually obviously like in my world deal a lot with federal employees. They're with TSP. TSP is a BlackRock fund.
Yeah. BlackRock manages the entire thing.
F&G is partnered with BlackRock. Like you're literally talking about an option that's still
The exact
managed.
same funds.
Yeah,
basically.
almost the same funds. Obviously TSP has their own funds, their own options within there, but I mean, you're offering something that they're familiar with, right? And it's something that, anyway, it's an easy conversation. Yep. So it's probably the best accumulation tool I've seen. When I run $100,000 scenarios, there's very few, if any, that compete in the illustration. There are others.
Another reason too, like I said, I know we differ on some things. I'm probably a little bit more of an active investor than you are. I wouldn't say I don't like swing trade or day trade and all that kind of stuff, or at least haven't in a while. But I do like the opportunity that there are, like you said, like some almost counter-cyclical funds in there, right? Like you do have a gold fund.
Yeah.
You do have a real estate fund, which typically perform a little bit better when things are going down.
Have a real estate fund?
Yeah, there's a REIT in there. Yeah, the iShares Real Estate Investment Trust, which again right now isn't doing too well because of the 2020 pandemic. A lot of like commercial real estate and stuff like that's kind of suffering. But when all goes back to normal.
So like if you're a guy or a gal that's securities licensed and really, actively managing your clients' accounts, which I don't think many are, but if they are, and that's a conversation they have regularly, here's an opportunity. Good job, F&G.
Yeah. I think that's really cool of them. It's cool to throw those in there. Are you going to use it a ton? No. I mean, maybe not. If you're sitting down with your clients a lot, and I mean, you do have a lot of, especially like older guys that are like, I should have put all my money in gold. As soon as the market starts going down, you're like, hey, well, that's great. We've got a gold trust fund. It's not going to grow a lot, but we might be able to get 1%, 2%, 3% out of it while we're in a recession, and that would be nice.
Where do you stand on the fee?
I think there's just worth it on the to buy up a better rate. I do it with some of the money. I like the fact that you don't have to do it with all of the money. If you wanted to put 20% or 30% in there, I'd do it.
I was just having this conversation the other day. I am 100% in favor of fees when it serves the purpose for the money, right? Like if the purpose of the money was to accumulate as much as possible over time while guaranteeing ourselves downside risk, and we weren't happy with the potential earnings or back testing reports of the non-fee side of things, then I would start to look at the fee options, right?
And I'm typically anti-fee across the board. I generally don't like fees. I don't like paying for something. I feel like if you're creating a feed option to the product, then the product wasn't built well enough in the first place.
Right.
Like that's my honest opinion of fees. Like if you're gonna have to charge me to work harder, then I should have just got a flat deal that was the better product, right? That's unfortunately not the world we work in. But I do think if it is a product, right? Like if this was some fly-by-night company or some odd index to it, BlackRock to me holds a lot of water. They're the largest fund managers in the world. If there's somebody I'm going to pay to do a better job, hopefully for me, it's probably going to be BlackRock. So, again, I guess same thing, right? It'd be like buying up a better rate on the S&P. There's a pretty decent return that it's going to do better the more money I put into it. So I think it's worthwhile. I would on this. Not with a full money. I wouldn't put my 100% in there and take that whole fee to it, but I'd put some money in there.
Again, it's all purpose based. If we have another plan for other assets to get growth,
it's true.
Then I'm not even considering paying a fee. Yeah. It's like this money was designed for safe growth,
not losing
money. If we can get growth, then great. That's not the purpose of this. There's no better company for us to do this in than with F&G. And I like the fact that if we change our tune a few years from now, that we have the option to get growth, right? If there's some reason, and we could start paying a fee on this specific index, like reallocate to that fund, start getting more growth if we weren't happy with the growth.
Maybe you dwindle down some of your money, spend a little bit more of your outside assets a little bit more, and you want to pay up. I guess that's fair.
But look, it's also flexible premium. I don't think we mentioned that. Yeah. It's flexible premium, deferred, fixed index annuity. I don't think we mentioned that.
We didn't.
So, yeah, positioning wise with this product, absolutely. We're trying to get as much growth as possible for the client while securing downside risk. This is a person that's got income sources elsewhere. I'm thinking people with pensions and Social Security that have income sources that are going to help accomplish their fixed income needs in retirement, all their guaranteed income needs, but have some intention for this money or have some purpose for it to survive either to the next generation as an inheritance.
Or at least 10 years.
Or 10 years, like they need this money down the road. Or, they just want to protect it from downside risk in case, but we're almost trying to protect against inflation. Like they're worried about taxes going up and they want to make sure that it's getting growth enough to counteract those increases or those other risks, right? So that's who I'm positioning a product like this for.
I'd add another subgroup to that. I mean, that 100%, I would add your typical 401k clients, again, because a lot of the funds are the same. I would also add a lot of you guys that are more active investors, people that do like having options, a lot of different things to pick from, a lot of different funds to pick from. Even though you can't really move it a lot, it's not like you can swing trade an annuity or frequently. Once a year, you still have a bunch of different options you can look at and say, hey, I think the real estate market's going to go up over the next year. I think the gold market's going to go up. Like you have options for somebody who likes to actively manage their money a little bit more.
Yeah, like picking this over, say, another accumulation product that might have a little more simple options out there.
You can look at the Accumulator Plus with them, right? Where you only have the Trailblazer option.
Right.
Trailblazer does really well, but a guy that's been managing his own stuff and everybody
even
knows
other
them.
Carriers too might have simpler allocation strategies even than just the Trailblazer. I think about some American equity product lines, like super simple stuff way back when. Right. But then there's got to be others that are, just simple S&P 500 stuff. But this is, definitely for your savvy person, but it also is going to perform well. I mean, it looks like it's going to perform well in illustrations. It's got the power to accumulate. Right? I like that about it. So if I'm sitting in front of that client and, we've had a good fact-finding session and we come down to the fact that, all right, you're coming to me wanting this other asset that you have to continue your growth. Maybe they got money sitting in a TSP. They got money sitting in a 401k, past employer 401k. They've got pensionized income. They've got Social Security income. I don't know what else could it possibly be that they have. They have maybe they're older and they've got RMDs and they're planning to take them somewhere else. Some sort of guaranteed income that's covering their expenses. We want something that's growth. They're giving me a lot of pushback. I believe that you need security. They believe that they need growth. I start to offer them a solution that meets them in the middle, right? Say, look, you are very taken care of, right? You've got income coming in from these sources. You've got other assets to pool on, but you're just wanting to accumulate. And even if we leave some in, it's like you have no nest egg, right? You've got assets that are exposed to risk, and then you've got this pensionized income over here that's guaranteed to you. But what I'm suggesting is, what if there was a way for us to take not all of our market exposed bond portfolios or stocks and bonds that we have, whatever in these IRAs or whatever, qualified or non-qualified funds, doesn't matter, clearly, right?
You have no safe assets.
Safe assets. What if we were able to secure those assets and still get gains like we were getting in the market or close to it, as close as a product like that could ever get to? And then slowly transition to them and say, well, look, this product is an annuity, but it's not your mom and dad's annuity. This is a fixed index. It's a deferred fixed indexed annuity. Comes with a 10-year chassis. You've got basically all kinds of index options, but some of these index options have been able to get clients returns in the past of X, Y, and Z. Right. And you're going through, let's take a look at some of the illustrations that I've ran. This power accumulator is designed for exactly what you guys came and told me about. You told me you wanted to grow but you were nervous that you'd have enough money for retirement, right? Well, I'm telling you that you've got income that's guaranteed, but we can't expect the cost of living adjustments with Social Security and the cost of living adjustments that may or may not be there for your pension to keep up with inflation, tax risk, sequence of returns risk,
medical bills.
I mean, healthcare expenses. Things are going to go up, and while we don't need it today, my goal is not to definitely only fund your go-go years, like Tom Hegna says, but also
shameless plug
to Tom Hegna. Not just your go-go years, but your slow-go and your go-go year or your no-go years, right? Because the healthcare risks are going to go up. We're definitely getting tax increases sometime. I know I'm not supposed to make guarantees, but come on, we're in the lowest tax environment we've ever been in. Things are going to go up. And the client likely agrees with that at that point. So I'm shifting gears to say, look, this is the best middle ground you're going to find. We've taken a look at options within the bond market. It's not completely secure like you think it might be. A lot of retirees have looked elsewhere. And quite frankly, there's just better options than bonds these days. It used to be, sure, our grandmother, your grandmother, our fathers, whatever, bought these annuities that were locking in and getting terrible returns.
I mean, back when we were in elementary, middle school, probably respectively, that you could put your money in a CD and get 14% returns on CDs.
Savings account,
it's a different world,
right? Like
3% return in a savings account with a high yield.
You talk to like my grandmother about an annuity, she freaks out. She has no idea what, because nobody ever approached her about it. But she's a wealthy individual with no security. And when things go awry, she's the first person screaming for help and calling my father and calling me and asking for advice on this and that. And, it's like, first off, like, what kind of returns are you getting? None. Or barely anything on those bond portfolios or whatever. It's come to a crawl. Right. But then, and you're worried about, you have all these stressful days in your life, but you could get similar gains, if not better gains, and completely eliminate those bad days. I mean, it's like, we got to protect. So that client, we're protecting against the inevitable increases in expenses in retirement. While we're guaranteed right now, we don't know what the bumps are going to be. Let's secure enough income so that if there was a bump, we can survive the night. Right. And if you don't do that, well, then you'll be subject to a lot of what other retirees are. And that's, just the opportunity, like the misfortune,
panic and loss,
that you're panicking, you're losing, and sometimes got to go back to work.
And this thing does have, again, those pretty good, not spectacular, right? There's definitely better liquidity options out there. A lot of times they cost you something like a rider for it, but you still get your 10% out, which is nice. You get 10% withdrawals every year, except for the first year. You can pull it out if you need it. So
you can do the same strategies as pretty much anything else out there.
So
it's just like when we talk about these accumulation products, man, it's just like, do we think the funds are going to perform?
And again, I mean, compared to half the stuff I've never heard about there, and I'm pretty well versed into index and ETF portfolios.
Oh my God!
With the new stuff that's been coming out in the past year.
Again, big bust on a lot of the stuff out there. You're like flipping through. You need a doctorate to decipher this. You think your client's going to jump in on that? It's like so nice to be able to say this isn't like some cookie cutter. It's not just the S&P 500 and we got a low cap or we got a spread, and it's not like, well, we got to get a master's degree out in in business or in finance in order to understand this mutual fund that is this index that's designed. I won't name any names, but there's someone we'll come across them eventually. We'll come across them eventually when I'm frustrated.
Hold your tongue.
But the truth is like, I mean, these are complex, right? The balanced asset 5 index, and you have to explain somewhat to that. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to explain, but it is nice that you got BlackRock.
They have easy parts to it though, right? Like you can dive into the CIBC, but you can also look at like the S&P. You have that in there. You have their typical like BlackRock funds,
iShares Core, S&P 500,
right? The MSC in there.
You already said that though. Like you already said it's like your 401k.
So you can just say like, look, like, and again, most Vanguard.
That's a valid point.
Most Vanguard has these same shares in it. Like again, our company sponsored 401k. They have all these same funds in here. I'm in for these funds. The S&P. The MSC,
they got the REIT fund,
or 3 of them. Excuse me, I moved out of the other one I was in, but I'm in all 3 of them. So it's like it's a very easy conversion to say, hey, look, if an advisor talked to me and was like, "You're in the open market, you think we're going to go down? Do you want to be in the same funds with a lesser return, but you can't go down at all. I'd be like, well, shoot, yeah. Why not, right?
It's like it's a no-brainer conversation when you get to the it's like you're going into retirement. It's time, like you're slowly limiting, like that's all retirees seem like pre-retirees, they seem to get that. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm gonna start limiting my exposure. They understand that concept.
Yeah.
And then when they're in retirement, like why wouldn't it be a conversation of eliminating, not limiting, but eliminating risk whenever possible, right? And I get it. Like sometimes you need to be exposed in order to experience the growth necessary to counteract inflation completely. But it doesn't mean you need to be completely exposed, especially when we got stuff like F&G's putting out and other carriers where the indices perform or the ETFs perform in a way that mimics a lot of the market growth. 145% makes me sick.
It's killer. And again, it's
125 basis points.
It's by BlackRock.
And by BlackRock, which is nice to be like, hey, this is the largest fund manager in the world.
They manage the entire federal government retiree portfolio, like not Social Security. So don't worry about that.
That works for the conversation that I'm having a lot with federal employees.
But even still, like to talk about an individual, right? Like these people, like they didn't manage Social Security, so don't worry, they didn't screw that one up. That's our federal government. But BlackRock has managed the TSP, which is what all federal employees retire under. Like they manage all that money, so they've got a huge amount of security and backdraw with it. Like they're a huge firm. Even if you're not talking directly to federal employees, like I know again, if I talked to my parents and was like, BlackRock manages so much money and they do it well. They're not doing like credit sweeps and crazy stuff like that. Like,
right.
You know, Archegos or whoever they were just got swept under the rug. Like they're a good firm.
Good withdrawal percentages, flexible premium. That's a big one. Big.
Not the best in the space for it. We'll continue on like who I personally like for flexible premiums. But again, that is a huge factor.
What's wrong with their flexible premium? I don't even know.
On the advisor base, so there's better products out there that offer more in the later years of it, like continuing to get comp, continuing to get bonuses on it, like just some longer, like, you know, if you're going to be doing it in the later years, there's better options out there. I mean, F&G is good. To have that flexible part to it is really nice, but
and comp.
Splitting hairs.
What about comp on the power accumulator?
Comp's good. I do not know what the MJ comp is on this.
I know what the comp is. You
What's
know what
the comp is? What is it?
The comp is, yeah.
Wow, that's good.
No, yeah. The comp, the comp is, no. Honestly, the comp is like
currently of April, was it 5th, 6th of 2021? Just for future reference, if somebody watches this later.
Yeah.
Currently.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, I think street level comp with F&G is pretty darn good.
It's good.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, they are absolutely they're protected hierarchy.
I think they're one of the top players in the A range when it comes to comp.
For sure. Yeah. Because they're coming out of that B world where they were high comp, considered high comp carrier.
Where you're allowed to pay more because you have to, right?
You almost have to incentivize. Like part of this show, though, is about being honest. Like, you know, things have to be good for all parties involved, right? It's got to be that the product is not only serving the client and the carrier, but also the advisor too, right? Who's going to put 10 years of work into this product, right? True.
Yeah, 100%.
And probably longer for most practices that keep these people on for clients forever, right? But this is a commissionable product and it is going to receive a commission, and F&G does value their advisors quite well.
And I'm not saying that like this is the case, but I'm sure enough advisors have been through this. They're the ones that take the call if the index doesn't perform well and get screamed at for not performing well. So I feel like they should be paid appropriately.
So true.
You know,
it's 10 years of management if you're doing this the right way.
Yep.
Right. Annual reviews, client calling the client, telling them good or bad, whatever it is. Yeah. Home run.
Great product.
All right. Fan. Well, then what is the rating? What are you going to say?
I don't know. What are you giving it?
I don't know. Accumulation. So let's just review it then. Yeah. Okay. Flexible premium. I like that.
It's a plus.
Minimum premium. Nothing to be super stellar about. I love the story to be able to tell about 401k style investment options within index options, ETF options within, crediting options within the product.
Yep.
Okay. I think that makes it a really easy sale, an easy conversation to have with a client about, I think what's hard about product is, in explanation to clients, is when you want performance out of a product, most times you're having to get creative with your indices or your crediting methods. And in explaining those in a way with indices or crediting options that are pretty simple to understand and relatable to the world they're just coming from, if you're dealing with qualified assets, makes it such an easy thing to say. And then being able to say on top of that, hey, you can get 85% of that, or whatever the other rate was, for free. Or if we're really trying to juice this sucker up, we can allocate some of the monies, if not all of the monies, to funds that are really juiced up in rates, 125, 145, 170% of interest credited in that option, right? I mean, holy moly. I think the client would be drooling at that, plus an illustration that back tests really well in these offers, on these different crediting offers. Withdrawal options, 10% liquidity, so I'm not losing any ground to any other advisory product out there. And at the end of the day, I know it's solid for my firm as far as compensation goes. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up? That's
2
good.
thumbs up.
The only knocks I'd make against it, I wish there was liquidity in the first year. It's not a huge part, but that would be really nice. I like the industry strategies very well.
But to be honest, like if I needed liquidity in the first year, this wouldn't be the product for me. I'm looking for growth.
There's positions where you could agree. There's positions where you could use it. Like, again, they offer it on the Flex Accumulator. It'd be really cool if they brought it to this, just in case, again, hypothetically, and a quick, not to get on a tangent, but like a federal employee that's trying to separate service, or somebody moving out of that, to be able to move the money over and take a quick withdrawal to pay off any like extra bills or something like that, instead of pulling it out before the 401k to move it over, take a secondary withdrawal, buy the boat, fix the roof, whatever it's going to be.
But again, like
it's an accumulation product. You should use other funds. You should use other funds for it. Agreed. I'm just saying I would like it. It would be nice.
Nice.
It would be nice.
All right.
Not have to, but I would like it. Second thing, I think I like all the allocation options. I understand them very well. I wouldn't walk into a appointment with the client and say, which one of these do you want? Because there is a lot of moving pieces to that. I would go on pros like, hey, look, when we talked, you had this fund, you have this, we have these that are like it, and this is what we're going to pick. I wouldn't show them that sheet, because if you look at that illustration, there's a lot of color and a lot of freaking lines on that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to change my rating. I hate their illustration.
You don't like their illustration? That first section of it with the pie chart?
It's so confusing. I look at it, on there. I look at that thing, and I'm searching for where I put the 100% in.
Yeah.
With all the different par rates listed on there and all this stuff, like I just see my clients or a client getting super confused on that.
That's why I would specifically, I would predetermine it or talk to them and figure it out beforehand, because if you're going to sit down with a client with another carrier, you've only got 4 or 5 and say this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is, and this is what this. Which one do you want? Versus I would walk in and be like, look, they have an S&P iShares account. We're going to use some of the money here, and this is what it is. We're going to look at the CIBC. This is what it does. We have 2 options. We can pick a fee or a no fee, depending on how we want it. And then we have a real estate fund if you want to look at that. And then I would say, how much do you want to do in each one of these? We can blend them. I wouldn't give it an open, Ruby Tuesdays.
Show them the illustration.
Yeah. And you just walk through, you pull up the illustration and say, hey, look, there's a whole lot of these.
You do it on the computer.
I do it on the computer, and I would just highlight it and say, these are the 3 we picked because it says 100 on them.
It's just a typical case is somebody's printing it out, showing it on a Zoom or something like that.
That one's going to be a little notch for me because it gets a little complicated.
Yeah, I'm going to change it from 2 thumbs, man.
What are you going to do? Thumb up, thumb sideways?
No, give it the old Greek. I need more substance than 2. Yeah, for this one. So I'm going to change it up. 20 out of 25.
20 out of 25. That's fair.
Yeah.
Good metric.
20 out of 25. You're going to get. See, I went from 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, which is 100.
To 20 out of 25.
It was 65. I think that would be mathematically 70, somewhere in there. Rough math.
You gotta get your math.
I'm gonna go for our Florida people. I'm gonna rate this as one Publix BOGO, which is buy one get one free. I think it's a great product. I'm a big fan of it. Not always the best deal compared to a Walmart, but I do think it's a phenomenal deal, and it'd get me 10 out of 10 times. That's my rating. One Publix BOGO.
So it's the equivalent of a Publix BOGO.
Yeah, it's a great deal because you get 2 for 1 thing. Like if you're getting chicken breast, you're getting a lot of chicken breast, but you're spending more money. You could have got it cheaper at Walmart. Like there's maybe cheaper options, but it's going to get me 10 out of 10 times. I'm getting both
You
packs.
think that there's a product out there that'll perform as well as the Power Accumulator for less money? No way, no how. I think you've got to change that, man.
Yeah.
I respect the attempt at the analogy, but I think you're wrong. It is the BOGO that you're walking in and you're like,
Oh, it's the Publix 10 for 10s. The 10 for 10 Gatorades where you get one, it's a Gatorade for $1 and you get 10 flavors of Gatorade.
I have been looking for Gatorade and you came in and we're like, you're running 10 for 10s? Like, I don't need 10.
Yeah. But I'm going to get them because they're $1.
Heck yes.
10 for 10 goldfish bags. It's a 10 for 10 deal.
I was looking for 7 and I'm getting 10.
10 for 10 deal.
All right. You've heard it here first on the show. All right, first episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Honestly, man, I think this is a great product. F&G, congratulations. I know they've had a lot of success with the Power Accumulator series, 10-year and 7-year. I love the 7-year option. We didn't mention that enough, but that's a home run too. Again, if you have comments, questions, you hate what we said today, you agree with what we said today, comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do to keep in on this. This is how we'll keep this going. Yeah. We want to make sure that we, send all the kudos out to the carriers when they've got a good product. F&G, you've got a good product here. You've got 2 folks that enjoy it, along with, you guys know your metrics. I'm sure you sold a ton of this product already. Yeah. Keep up the great stuff. We appreciate you guys. If you're looking at want more information about the Power Accumulator, message us about that as well. We'll also make sure there's an email on your screen right now, or all the contact information, different ways that you guys prefer to get in touch with our team here. Yeah.
Are we just going to send them to F&G? We'll figure that out.
Yeah, no worries. And basically, if you have a suggestion about another product you'd like us to review on the show, we're happy to do it. Until next time, man.
Yeah, until next time.
Pretty cool stuff.
I like it.
All right.
Fun.
All right, everybody. We'll see you then.